As a couple, let's see what we have here. What I'm really interested in is with your schedules, and you seem to have a lot going on. You know you have your podcast and everything. You want to tell us a little bit about that first before we get into the questions?
Yes.
She just dropped her first episode, man. Shout out to
shout out to that. Let's go. We podding out here. Yeah.
Are you ready to pod? Right.
Okay.
Right over there.
When I say Calvin, I know we were talking about when we came in, like about editing and everything. And after I finished editing with him and he was teaching me everything, I stood in front of the computer and I'm like, okay, I want to throw up now. And he's like, man, you got this. And I'm excited. It's called LoveHer podcast. It focuses on the lack of women of color in leadership. I start my podcast, my first episode with Mayor Tiffany Worthy of Willingboro, New Jersey. Yeah. So that's exciting.
Excellent.
Yes.
That was really huge for me. I had it in a vision. I wrote it down. And so I was really excited. It took me a second because I am coming off of another podcast, Girl Got Therapy. So I'm transitioning from one to another.
This is like her first one
by myself.
Yeah.
By myself. Nice. I've had my fair share. I've been on several different podcasts.
You've been podcasting for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Which is good.
That's nice training.
Yeah, that's what I felt like it was.
She loves to talk, so it's like that's so easy for her. This perfect.
So I'm gonna do a plug because we haven't done any of these yet. So Mansa Media is a podcast network.
Yes.
And we are developing shows and we're developing talent. We're trying to make it affordable for all the creators so they can get their product out in a professional way and compete with those who are putting out top tier quality. Because a lot of times you look out there and you're like, dang, I can't get it like that, but you can. So I wanted to ask you about your podcast journey and what made you want to first get into it. Because I will say this, even though I'm a part of Mansa Media, podcasting is not for everybody.
It's
not.
Like, just like everything, just like producing and being in entertainment is not for everybody. Podcasting is not for everybody. Everybody thinks they can do it.
It's the new thing too.
Yes, it's really hot right now, but
it's hard.
It's
hard.
It's work.
No, it is.
But what made you want to get into that?
You know what it was? It wasn't a vision of getting into it first. It was it was speaking. When I was in school in Puerto Rico, I was just always speaking. They would always ask me, yo, can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? Can you talk about this? Or they would have me like, hey, we want to record a poem. Can you do this for us? And so when I started doing that, and then I started educating myself a little bit more about social justice issues and politics and the lack of women of color in leadership, it was starting like in 2015. Somebody was like, you need to start like getting behind a mic and saying this.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm straight. And so I'll never forget, it was a brunch CG had. I don't know if you guys know what CG Car is. CG Car had a Kings and Queens brunch, and she invited me there. And so I'm sitting there and I'm hearing former officer Kelly Logan of Willingboro, New Jersey. Now, those who don't know who Mr. Kelly Logan is, his daughter Latrice Logan was killed a long time ago while I was in high school, accidentally. And so he's started a campaign to get guns off the streets in Willingboro and Camden. It's phenomenal work. But he made a comment one time when he talks about, because we're talking about how women should dress and things like that. And I particularly was like, a man shouldn't be having a comment on what he thinks a girl should be doing with her body. You know, if that's just not your type of girl, it's just not your type of girl.
Exactly.
He made a comment and said, and women, be careful of what you're wearing out there, because a lot of these rapists, that's what they're looking after.
Wait a minute. Is this on Facebook?
Yes.
I remember this. I was in that thread.
It is on Facebook. It is.
He was trolling
It's on Facebook, YouTube. You can find it. And he was like, you need to be careful what you're wearing, because these men out here are, that's the men I've locked up, the rapists. That's why, because of the type of clothes you wear. And I was like, that's what we're not going to do.
Right.
And everybody just looked at me. I said, we're not telling women what to wear so they don't get raped. He's like, that's not what I said. And I said, oh, yeah, it is.
That one blew
basically
up.
Run that camera back. You just told women to watch what you're wearing to not get raped, when I know Muslim women who have been covered from head to toe
getting
raped. I know men who have gotten raped. And so I kind of said what I said, and everybody just looked at me, and I sat down there like, girl, you just insulted like one of the biggest police officers in Willingboro.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And then so after that, people came up to me like, nah, you need to start talking. Like you need to get behind a mic.
That's why I'm so happy she's doing it, man. Because I have to hear her voice. But I love it because I learned a lot from her. Like, you know, she's very intelligent. So hearing her talk all the time, so it's like, yo, you have to do it. And, you know, she did a bunch of different podcasts. But it was like her lane is, like, she's very smart. Like, so she can sit down with any woman and have a decent, higher than decent conversation. I see her do it all the time. She comes with me to my sessions, and it be females, like, big people. And she would sit there and have a great conversation with them, man. So she's doing very well.
She has a good presence because, you know, it's more than just, a lot of times people think they have a lot to say, and a lot of people do have a lot to say, but there's a lot of different mediums into how you can say that. Like, some people might be better at tweeting. Some people might be better as authors. Yeah. Some people might be, you know, some people are rappers. They can't do podcasts.
Yeah,
they can rap.
But they can
write
freestyle.
Yeah, they could write a rap and it would be impactful and meaningful. But podcasting is a little bit different, and you have to have a presence. And, you know, just sitting here and, you know, it's funny because I'm thinking back. You was on Nina's podcast, right? Yeah. And so you're the reason that we all met. Yeah, you and Nina, because that was Bianca. Bianca went there, and I went there with her. That was at Ace's studio. At Ace's studio.
It's crazy.
It's funny
because I did the intro for Nina.
Yeah, right. He made the intro.
They met, then they started really clicking, and then that is really
it's
crazy. How
it is.
That came.
And to be honest, Ace was the first person to tell me to do it by myself.
Right.
He hit me up. I'll never forget. He wanted me on another podcast that spoke about politics, but they had slowed down. And then Ace was like texting me like, Lovelene, like, you could do this by yourself. And honestly, I prayed about it, and I got nervous. I got scared for years. I was really scared, and I was I guess I undervalue. Like, sometimes we undervalue ourselves, and I'm like, no, I can't do it by myself. And
sometimes you need a hype man.
We do, and then I feel comfortable with that.
Right.
So when, you know, my other friend who came to me was like, I want to do a podcast, and I was like, sure. Like, I've been scared to do it on my own,
right?
And, you know, after that, I felt like, you know, my relationship with God, we'd be talking. He was like, so you gonna keep ignoring me, what I'm telling you?
Right.
Because after that, I just kept hearing like,
hearing it.
I've equipped you with everything,
right,
like inside of you to do this on your own, and your support system is gonna hold you up, and I'm gonna make sure of it. You will lack nothing if you stick with me. And I was like, all right, let's go, let's get it. And
everything in divine timing.
In divine
doesn't happen
timing.
before it's supposed to.
Yep.